Morning peeps, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vids. It is fight week, people. We are here and I can't wait for this. I really can't. For me, it starts tomorrow. Press conference, I'm interviewing Conor and Chris. I think I'm interviewing Nigel as well. Then obviously I'm doing the weigh-ins on Friday, and then I'm doing the undercard on Saturday, and then I'm going to do my reporter stuff for Matchroom fight night. So yeah, busy 3 or 4 days for me, and I can't wait to get busy. I'm looking forward to this one so much. The O2 Arena is going to be jumping. Like, the noise that's going to be generated when they do their ring walks, and when Chris does that jump over the ropes, it's going to lift off. You guys know it's going to lift off. Now, I hope, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about Senior, and Senior saying things like boycott the fight, Senior not wanting to be involved in the fight. I hope there is a last-minute U-turn, because for me, I need to see Chris Senior walk Chris Jr. to the ring. I just need to see it. It has to happen. I think it's important for Chris as well. Nigel, I expect to be right there alongside Conor. Obviously, he'll let Tony Sims do his thing. He trusts Tony Sims 100%, but it will be so good to see the fathers walk them to the ring. But regardless, the fight has been sold so well. I think Matchroom have done a fantastic job in the promotion of it. Remember, we were like, how's this fight going to do without the Sky Sports machine? And look, Sky still would have taken it to another level, but I think Matchroom and DAZN have done as good a job as they can of pushing it. I thought the programs, Make the Days Count, I think have been fantastic. Obviously the face-off that I was involved with was fantastic and done good numbers. There was a red carpet event the other day. They have pushed this as far as they can. They were on GMB, weren't they? Good Morning Britain or something the other day. So look, they've done as much as they can do. Chris has done so well in selling this fight as well, with this 60% thing, him out eating burgers and steak and shit from Salt Bay. You know what? But that's all done. That's it now. Let's get to the press conference. Let them have that final go at each other. Then obviously the weigh-in, which is going to be a massive talking point if Chris comes over. But I expect him, considering what he's been doing in the last couple of weeks, I expect him to make the 157, and then it's showtime. And then it is showtime. You know how good a fight this is, or how this fight has captured the public's imagination, is that no one's talking about the undercard. Like, normally with these kind of fights, you're like, oh, what's on the undercard? Oh, no, it's rubbish. You know, especially because this is pay-per-view. There's two things. No one's talking about it being pay-per-view. Well, let me say, stop that, Addy, that's a lie. Some are, and rightly so, right? I mean, you don't want to have to pay for fights, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But not many people are talking about it being pay-per-view, and not many people are talking about the undercard, which is interesting, which shows how much people just care about the main event. That's it. People just care about the main event. And it is quite a thick undercard, at least in terms of fights anyway. But I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait. It feels so good to be front and center involved in something this big. I think this will be massive. In terms of pay-per-view buys, you just never know, really. Especially nowadays, because people illegally stream so much. But I think 500,000 is a good number. I think that's a good number. Conor's never fought on pay-per-view before. I think Chris has once, I think, but he's not a pay-per-view fighter per se. So these are not two pay-per-view fighters, but obviously with the name, with the history, it's going to just create something magical. It's difficult, and hopefully you guys understand the position I'm in. It's difficult for me to give a prediction for the fight, just because I know for a fact that both guys watch this channel, and I'm interviewing both guys as well in the next couple of days. So it's going to be very, very difficult for me to give a prediction. What I will say is that I always notice in fights that Chris starts fast. Like the first 3 or 4 rounds, Chris starts fast to the point where you almost feel like he's going to blow an opponent away. If the opponent is still there, Chris definitely takes off middle rounds, and then he kind of ekes out the last couple. So and when I say takes off the middle rounds, he doesn't give them away. He still wins, but it's not as fast as the first 3 or 4 rounds. Now, if he starts fast and Conor can keep up with that pace, and Conor is still there and still serviceable from round sort of 5 to 9, we have a fight. If he starts fast and blows Conor away, then obviously it is what it is. But if Conor cannot take much damage or any damage in those first 4 rounds and still be fit and firing, then I think from 5 to 9 is going to be very, very interesting. Look, Chris is the bigger guy. Chris is the stronger guy, I believe. Chris is the more experienced. I think Chris is going to be probably a bit more composed than Conor. But Conor's the younger guy, more energy. I think the bigger weight will help him maybe. It might slow him down, by the way, but I think it will help him. He's been doing a lot of good sparring with bigger guys. He's the fresher of the two as well. It's so intriguing. It's so intriguing. And that's why, you know, I think a lot of people started off with their predictions saying, oh, Chris is going to win. And now a lot of people are like, 1 second, you know what? Yeah. If Conor can get past the first 5 rounds, we have something here. I was speaking to, who was I speaking to? Gareth A. Davis a couple of days ago. We're going to talk about him because obviously this Fury AJ thing, he seems to be right in the middle of it. But he was talking, so I was asking him, if Conor does lose badly, then there's going to be the blame game. Like, why have you put Conor in with a bigger, stronger guy and a more experienced guy than Chris? I guess this is the risk you take. Both guys are getting paid a lot of money. This is a historical fight. It is for this country at least. So this is the risk you take with this one. This is why it's not really comparable to Kell Brook Golovkin for a number of reasons. But I think the more is that if you can make this fight, you make this fight. And they've made this fight. And I guess that's the risk that comes with it. It's just the risk that comes with it. Sorry, guys, I've just woken up. I need this. Oat latte. What's happened to me, man? What's happened to me? But no, look, guys, I can't wait. Again, so on the actual fight night, just so you guys are clear, I will be doing or presenting. They've done it now very much like they do for the big pay-per-views in America, where I present the first 6 fights. I think I'm doing it with Tony Bellew and then Barry Jones. And then we chuck to a little break. Then I believe Tony runs off to be next to Laura. I think it's Tony, Laura, and I think it's Carl Froch maybe. And then I quickly do what I do. So I go ringside and then I do the reporting, the interviews after the fighters have won or lost. I did think about this the other day. I'm going to be interviewing the winner and loser in the ring. It's probably going to be my biggest one to date. Like I've done a few big ones, but that's going to be my biggest interview ever. And I don't ever prepare for these interviews. Like I see some people like they've got notes, and I just watch the fight and I'm thinking of stuff to say as the fight's happening. So yeah, it's going to be one hell of an interview after, innit? It's going to be a big interview that I'm going to have to make sure I nail that interview. And I will just because that's what we do. That's what we do. All right, any other news? Are any of you coming to the weigh-ins? Let me know. It'd be nice to see a few of you guys at the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins are going to be spectacular. It'd be nice to come. You know, it'd be nice to do at the weigh-ins actually. Go for a drink or something. If any of you are coming to the weigh-in and you see me, let's do something, yeah? Because after the weigh-ins, I guess I'm kind of free. I don't think I'm doing anything for the zone, so I'm free after like 2 o'clock. So it'd be nice to do something. All right, let's talk about, or let's see what else there is to talk about from the world of boxing. Quite a lot has happened in the last few days. Arum erupts. Hearn wanted to kill the Fury Joshua fight. I knew he'd find a way to sabotage it. Let the blame game begin. You know, ultimately, whoever side you're on here, boxing's lost out. That's just boxing. That's fucked. You know what I mean? Some will say, well, you know, Eddie Hearn didn't want it, and maybe people from AJ's side didn't want it. And some people are saying, well, Fury, you know, Fury was bluffing. Did he really want it? Was his plan all along? Chisora, Manuel, I don't know. Who knows? Like, we're just guessing here. No one really knows. I don't know. But ultimately, like I said, boxing lost out on a big one. It is funny though. I'll have to be brutally honest with you. As much as I wanted to see the fight from a boxing perspective, like you always want big fights to be made. If I was on AJ's team and that offer came through, I would have been a bit, I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? I'd have been like, well, we've come off a loss, 2 losses. We've lost 3 of our last 5. Maybe this isn't the right time to do it. Maybe, you know, we have a couple of easier fights, if you like. Get more in sync with Robert Garcia, and then you take on the Fury when your confidence is at sky high. AJ's confidence clearly isn't there right now. He might give off in these interviews and the little Instagram stories he does that his confidence is at 100, but it can't be. It's impossible. Whereas Fury's confidence is always at 100, regardless. So I do wonder if everyone on AJ's side of the table, everyone was 100% singing from that same hymn sheet, saying, "Yeah, we want this." I wonder if there was any reservations. That's not me saying that AJ's team's the one that stopped this from happening, but I do wonder if every single person on that side was like, yeah, you know what, let's do this. I do wonder. But hey, look, at the end of the day, it's done. We're not going to have it. The fight's off. Will the fight ever be on again? Not sure. Not sure. Who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, anything can happen in boxing, right? I think we've seen that. I mean, Fury could fight someone and tear a bicep. I mean, honestly, anything could happen. Sometimes you've got to strike while the iron's hot. That's what they say, right? And the iron was hot. It was there. It was ready. And now it isn't happening. Eddie Hearn was on TalkSport saying that, you know, the deadlines and Tyson Fury setting new deadlines was a problem. George Warren was like, well, you know, conversations were good at first with Eddie Hearn in 258. Then the conversations just went quiet to the point where there was no conversation. So read into that how you want it. But ultimately, the fight's not happening. And it's just, again, it's very, very disappointing. For AJ, I think it still leaves that December 17th date. It looks like he will be coming back on that date. Against who, we don't know. I think the front runners, I would say, are Otto Wallin. I was going to say Dillian White, but I'm not sure. I think Otto Wallin will probably be the front runner. Otto Wallin makes sense as well because AJ's last 2 fights, he's been training for a southpaw, a very, very slick southpaw, but a southpaw. So right now, he's got that in his head. He knows how to prepare for a southpaw. He's been looking at southpaw. Well, Otto Wallin's a southpaw. So you've been preparing for that. So you might as well just stick on that same train you've been on and fight Otto Wallin. It's a name that we all understand. It's a name that we know. Obviously, you can compare it to the Fury performance when it's all said and done. So that for AJ. For Fury, I mean, Eddie Hearn said he sent a contract out to Derek Chisora. We've heard of Manuel Char. His dad mentioned Andy Ruiz. It's not going to be Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz ain't going to fight him this quick. Plus, Andy Ruiz has a deal, I'm sure, with PBC. It's not going to be Andy Ruiz. It sounds good, and I would love it to be, but I don't think that's going to happen. It can't be Manuel Char or Derek Chisora. It can't be. It can't be. Fury will have a built-in excuse and say, 1 second, I tried to fight Usyk, I tried to fight AJ, I couldn't fight any of them, what do you want me to do? And he's right, he's got a built-in excuse. And it's a good one, it's true. Usyk said, I don't want to fight until February, and we don't know what's happened with this AJ thing. So he has got a good built-in excuse. But regardless of the excuse, you can't go from, I want to fight the number 2 in the world, that didn't work out. I want to fight the number 3 or 4 in the world, that didn't work out. Okay, I'll fight number 50. No, dude. There's 48 places between, like literally, go and find someone else within that 48. Go and find someone else. Or don't fight at all. You know? Wilder on retirement. I only want to give it 3 more years, about to the end of 40. These boxers always push it, don't they? They always push it. We'll see. You know, they did a press conference. Wilder fights next weekend, isn't it? They did a press conference over Zoom for Deontay Wilder versus Helenius. Deontay Wilder, former WBC heavyweight champion, is doing a press conference over Zoom. You couldn't just get them in a room somewhere and do something proper. Cameras, media. This is Wilder's first fight since Fury. It's a big fight. Wilder over Zoom. Disgraceful. I'm sorry, that's just horrendous. I'm very embarrassed by that. But we'll see how Wilder looks. Let's see how he looks against Helenius. I think that's a very, very tough fight. Hopefully he comes through it because, you know, a Wilder, a good Wilder, or still a competitive Wilder in boxing is just fantastic for the heavyweight division. We shall see. Eddie Hearn, Rakimov will get his chance against Zelfa Barrett. Cordina will fight the winner. Okay, this is a story that's kind of got a lot of people talking. The IBF, we know, are strict. Obviously, Cordina is the IBF champion. You've seen the picture of Cordina's hand. It's funny, I knew about this. It's weird how it comes out now when I probably heard or knew about this about 3-4 weeks ago. But you see, 2-3 weeks ago, Cordina's hand's completely busted up. He's had surgery on it, and the IBF have stripped him. Now, a lot of people have been upset because this is the perfect time for the IBF to say, okay, you know what? Let's have an interim title fight. This is what that interim thing should be for, right? I mean, an interim title fight between Zelfa Barrett and Rakimov. The winner of that then fights Cordina, but they've almost done it the other way around. They stripped Cordina and they said Rakimov will fight Zelfa Barrett, Cordina will fight the winner. But either way, Cordina's next fight is going to be a title fight, but it is unfortunate that he has been stripped. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that Rakimov stepped aside to allow Cordina to fight for the title. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that happened. If that's happened, then you can understand why they said, oh, no, Rakimov wants to fight for the title because we promised him his next fight will be for the legit title, not an interim, the legit. So I think it's Rakimov's team that have probably pushed this and said, 1 second, this is how it needs to be. The problem with boxing is that there's been so many instances where a fighter hasn't fought and they've never been stripped. Like, you think of someone like Errol Spence with the IBF. Errol Spence obviously had that car accident. You know, he was out of the ring for 16 months, never got stripped. Never got stripped. Why didn't he get stripped? And then his fight back was Danny Garcia, which was a voluntary. So they've not stripped him, but they've allowed him to then have a voluntary. It doesn't make sense. So again, it's IBF doing different things to different fighters, which is what I don't like. Like, if anyone that was a big name held the IBF title, we're not saying Cordina's not a big name, but if it was a real big name, say that Canelo had the IBF title, you think Canelo's being stripped? Do you think Canelo's being stripped? Look, of course not. Of course not. So that's boxing doing boxing. All right, we are done with that. I was going to say something and it's bloody just skipped my brain. It was something super important as well. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, looks like it's dead for now. It was supposed to be, again, when I was in Vegas, it was all talks about November 19th. Boxing. Like, it's just boxing, innit? Like, how has it got to the stage where Terence Crawford, well, remember Terence Crawford, let's not forget, you know, openly blamed Bob Arum in front of Bob, saying you've not been able to make this fight. That's pretty much why I'm leaving your ass, you know. And obviously Bob had a dig at him behind the scenes as well. But ultimately, you guys must remember, I think it was his last fight. Was it Kell Brook? It might have been Sean, but I just remember him saying it. Well, you've not been with Bob for a long time now, a year. Still haven't made the fight. Fight still hasn't been made. I thought Terence Crawford wanted full transparency about the numbers, and he's not got that transparency yet. And until he gets full transparency about the numbers that this fight will generate from every source, which he's well within his right to, by the way, this fight ain't moving forward, which is a shame. So, look, Stephen Espinoza has said, you know, he doesn't really like to reveal stuff on social media. He had a little dig at Eddie Hearn. We're working on it. And he's now said early next year this fight could happen. Could happen, which is a shame. As part of Black History Month, I've been doing some stuff for TalkSport. Well, I've had to list my top 8 black sportsmen or women ever. My list. I know a lot of people would jump and say, oh, this is a disgrace that your list is shit. My list. So fighters and boxers and runners, whatever, that have sort of made an impact on my life. Number 8 on the list I revealed yesterday, and it surprised people. Number 8 was Floyd Mayweather. Again, remember, this is all athletes of all time, by the way. So Floyd was number 8. And the reason I had Floyd at number 8, don't know if you guys listened to me on TalkSport yesterday, I'm doing number 7 tomorrow. Yeah, on H&J, which is around 2:30 on TalkSport, if you want to know what number 7 is. But the reason I had Floyd as number 8 was because I think he's a genius. I think I'm so lucky now to sort of cover the sport professionally. So, you know, you're lucky to sit ringside, and You know, I've been able to see fantastic boxers, like what, you know, world champions, Olympic champions, like really top of the top. And every time I'm watching them and they're getting tagged, some of them are going down, getting back up, you know, all the, you know, the Rocky stories, you know, they're struggling with fights. And every time I'm watching these guys, all I think about is Floyd. It's strange. I'm literally ringside and thinking, how was Floyd able to do that? How was he able to go through fights sometimes without getting tagged? Or even when he got tagged, like against Shane Mosley, he was able just to kind of regroup and then just go through gears. Like, I genuinely think he was a genius, and he was the best fighter of my generation, like easily. And when I say my generation, I mean the last 25 years, easily. I know Manny comes close and you can have that argument amongst yourselves, but for me, he's a genius in the ring. Like, he's almost clocked the game of boxing. Like, his pay-per-view buys have generated something like £1.67 billion. £1.67 billion. He's a genius inside and outside the ring. And that's why he was my number 8. I sometimes get bored and just put on Floyd fights. I miss Floyd. And I haven't seen anything close to him. I know a lot of people said Shakur Stevenson, and maybe, we'll see. I've not seen anything close to his defensive skills. Insane. I think Floyd's insane. Honestly, insane. 5-weight world champion. Ring Magazine titles in 4 of those weight classes. World title fights from 1998 to 2000 and... when was his fight against Andre Berto? Whenever that year that was. But literally world title fight from then to then. Consistent world title fight. I think there's probably two or three gaps where it's not, but it's world title fight. Do you know how mad that is? You know how mad that is? World title fights all the way up. And you win them all. Nah, blood. Top 8. All right, 2 seconds. Let's see if there's anything else before we wrap up. It's weird how I was very mad about Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall's fight being canned. Well, obviously not canned, but postponed. It's next week, so the week after. It's coming so close. I can't wait for it. I won't be around to watch it again, which is very annoying. The last time I wasn't around because I was in Nigeria, and I was like, when it got cancelled, I was like, ooh, you know, it gives me time to come back and watch it. But I'll be doing something for DAZN. You know, their X series with KSI, they've got the second one in Sheffield, December 15th, so I won't be around for that, which is disappointing. But hey, it is what it is. Guys and girls, peace and love. I will try and do a couple more videos in the lead up to the EUBANK Ben fight. But yeah, can't wait for it. It's happening. Born Rivals. It's going to be good. Peace.